Mhm.
I think so.
All right. Okay, we're live. We're live. We're live. We're live. Okay. Welcome to our first episode of the pregame recap. We don't know what day we're gonna do this on just yet. Might be Monday, might be Tuesday. But regardless, we're gonna be live and at you with some sports talk here. It's not just football. It'll be whatever sports going on. Please like our stuff. Support us, comment. We're gonna be going live on Facebook and YouTube, things like that. But first, I want to jump into the first topic of the day. So, I'm a big Colorado fan. I'm pretty sure all three of us are big Colorado fans. Yes, because of Dion. For those who might say, "Oh, you wasn't a Colorado fan before," who the fuck was? Let's just keep it a bean. Um, but to add to that, what does Dion's loss to Oregon mean for Colorado? Jerry, you wanna hop in on that?
Yeah. Me personally, I mean, anybody with a brain, I felt like, I mean, yeah, we want Colorado to win, but I just feel like you understand the limitations of the trenches, the line, the offensive line, the defensive line. They didn't really give Shador any time to throw the ball, do anything with it. For all those blaming him for holding on to the ball a little bit, I mean, you got to really watch the game to see how much time he really had in the pocket. Um, he really couldn't do anything. I don't think they played they got blew out, but I don't think they played terribly considering this is like, Dion's first year, 87 new guys. I feel like, in the upcoming years, he'll get better linemen, better people in the trenches, they can, make some shape. Um, I wish they would have won, but I mean, I wasn't surprised by the loss. Still Team
Paul,
Dion, though.
X.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm not surprised either. I think going in, uh, I had a lot of questions, especially regarding the defense. A team like Colorado State, even if it's a rivalry game, them being able to put up 35 on you, airing it out. I think they had 300-yard receivers. Um, I mean, I think it just shows that Colorado's defense is not there yet. And then Oregon going into the game, they ran the ball really well in the previous game, so I think we all kind of knew what they were going to come in and do, and they just executed. On top of that, I think Colorado is so reliant on Shedeur to move the ball, and the lack of a running game is, I think it's going to be really problematic against these big teams who are like pretty complete. When you think about Oregon, USC, Oregon State, those ranked teams, like you have to show more consistently uh, on the ground as well as in the air to be able to compete with those teams.
I definitely agree with that, and I feel like of course we all wanted the fantasy of Dion going undefeated and winning the championship in his first year, but being a football fan, I think we all understand that that's not realistic. Um, but I feel like one thing I want to add, if you hating and you happy that he lost, unless it's the team you going against, like you need to take a look at yourself in the mirror, man, because we both know it could be you're mad that he black. You know what I'm saying? It could be you're mad because you're not him, and he a one-on-one dude. I pride myself on being confident in me, but I can't be Dion. You know what I'm saying? And that's okay. Y'all can't be Dion either. But to add more to the to the football conversation, to add to that, I definitely think that the lineman plays a big part. I feel like I did until I got older and started analyzing football. I didn't realize how big linemen were in football. I feel like they just important as the quarterback, because if the quarterback has no time in the pocket, he can't do anything. I mean, you saw Shador. Some people might say he looked horrible, but you can't really evaluate him when he's getting sacked the whole game, running for his life. So I definitely feel like that played a big part. Travis Hunter not being there also plays a part as well. A huge part. He's a big player on both sides of the ball. So that's definitely something to take away from the game. But the next thing I want to discuss is the next game, USC. I hope we don't see the same thing, but we might. USC has a big line on both sides, great line. I mean, watching Caleb Williams highlights, he's not only is he a great quarterback, but he does have all day in the pocket. He has time to create. He might have one person chasing him, but his linemen are steady coming to get him off of him. So, USC is gonna be another tough matchup. The spread is 21.5. When I looked, as of right now, it may change. But I mean, I think they can cover. I don't think. I think Oregon, to make a bad quote, took it personal. Now what they took personal, I don't know. I mean, I feel like their head coach is just a hater. But they took it personal. So I don't think USC, because Oregon lost, I mean because Colorado lost, will take this game as much as Oregon took it. But at the same time, you never know. But I'm hoping for the best.
Sure.
Anything y'all want to add to that?
Also, with Travis Hunter being out, I mean, it's definitely tough. I don't think that would have made a difference as far as winning and losing, but I definitely don't think number 11 goes off like he does against Travis. But you can't really complain about that. Just next man up mentality. So I feel like they'll be come with it this week. I trust in Dion to understand when he goes wrong and scheme around their lack of ability in the trenches. Maybe get the ball out a little quicker, more screens, more something like that. So definitely gonna be interesting in the upcoming week.
I definitely agree. Well, anything to add to that?
I think it's scary watching USC play and seeing how much time Caleb Williams has in the pocket. I feel like I've never seen him when he's under pressure. It's because he's sitting in the pocket for forever, which he's allowed to, considering who he is, and I mean obviously who his front five are. Um, I think they run the ball really well too. So I think Colorado faces something similar to Oregon, um, in the sense of a tough run game, a quarterback who can dissect them, maybe a little bit differently, but I I don't think it's going to be pretty. I don't think it'll be as ugly as last week necessarily, but I don't think it'll be a close game.
Yeah, yeah, I can definitely agree with that. But I'm hoping, and I'm gonna be a fan regardless. I need to get me a jersey. Colorado, when y'all gonna come out with the white version or the white jerseys that y'all have? Because I'm waiting
Right.
to get one. But moving on to our next topic, one I can't wait to talk about. So Miami, we all saw them put up 70 points on Denver. Who, I mean, if we keep it in a bean, like their defense was good last year. This year it don't look like they're good because you don't see 70 points in an NFL game every day. But question to you guys: do you guys think Miami is the new number one team in the NFL? And Wall, I'll let you take it away.
I think it's hard not to say that they are. Yeah, it's hard not to say that they are. Isn't Jalen Ramsey still hurt right now?
Yes, he is.
So they don't even have their top cornerback.
Didn't have a number two receiver either. Just to add that to that, Jalen Waddle didn't
They
play.
didn't have Jalen Waddle.
Gotta put him
Um,
70.
and yeah, I mean you contextualize it, and I saw someone say that it was like disrespectful for them to even put up 70, even though they didn't go for like the record or whatever.
Hmm.
Someone said it was like disrespectful for them to go for as many points as they did. Um, but when you really like watch the game, you see how much they ran the ball. Like it's not like they were out here running plays out of gun, throwing the ball, trying to feed Tyreek and just run up the score. I mean, the Broncos just couldn't stop the run. Um, so like you're pretty much trying to run the clock out, and you're still performing at this level. I think it's obvious the offense is top tier elite. Um, and then yeah, to put up 70 points and only give up 20. Not that the Broncos are just a powerhouse by any stretch of imagination, but they've been pretty consistent through the first 3 weeks. The only big game they've given up to team wise is Justin Herbert, which I mean, that's a solid offense right there, and they grinded out a win. So yeah, I mean, personally, I would say they're top dog right now. We'll see this weekend with the toughest test of the year so far.
Yeah, I
I,
definitely. Go
oh,
ahead,
sorry
Jay.
about that. Go ahead.
No,
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna say, I definitely think that number one team in the NFL for sure. Number one offense, not even close.
You don't
I
think it's
definitely
close?
feel
You
like,
don't think it's close?
I mean, who
Niners offense don't look bad. I'm not even gonna throw the
man,
Eagles in there because we ain't even reached our full potential yet.
they
But
them boys ain't putting up 70. I'm sorry, they not.
nah,
I just
you're
feel
not
like
wrong.
I
You're not
feel like
wrong.
honestly, if I was a GM, that's the kind of team I would want. The fastest team in the NFL, some of the best athletes. I feel like you have one of a really good quarterback or two when he's healthy, which he's been healthy. They looked great last year with him. I feel like they were like what 3-0 or whatever before he got hurt or whatever. So yeah,
It
I mean,
was
I,
more
I
than
just feel
that. They
like
was kicking ass.
Yeah, so I just feel like with if they can stay healthy, I mean, I really feel like it's gonna be hard for a lot of teams to stop them. Have they played a top five defense yet? I don't think. I don't think they've played a top five defense in today's game. Um, so I think that once we see that and see how they, how they go against one of those top five defenses, I feel like that's when we'll really see if they're really the number one team. But right now, I mean, you really can and speculate they're not. I mean, 70 points in the NFL is unheard of. 70 to
So
20 is unheard of.
I agree, and that's one thing that you said. Top five defense. Now I want to go back to the Niners. When it's all said and done, the Steelers looking like they might be a top five defense at the end of the year. Now, what Niners put up 40 on them? Now it was week one. I will say it's week one, but I don't know. Like, let's be real. The Steelers don't win their last two games because of their defense. They're not winning because of their offense. They're solely because of the defense. And so I think
Solely.
that's
I doubt so.
one of the
Solely,
biggest
but for
things.
sure.
Um, well, I mean, if you look at offensively before this week, Kenny Pickett, he was like rated one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. So
Well,
that's why I say
like
like, go ahead.
he's one of my he definitely was one not him but George Pickens definitely was a guy I thought that was gonna get a lot of do really well this year. I feel like if you can get the function rate of offense going and get the ball into your playmakers' hands, I definitely feel like they can move the ball. I just feel like now that he's settled in, I feel like now we're really going to see if he's a NFL quarterback, a starter or not. Then I feel like he's finally settled into the offense, finally knows who to go with the ball. We'll really see in the next couple of weeks how he really is going to be as a quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And last thing before we move on, unless you guys have something else, Tua. I think Tua's health is very important. And Walt sent me a video, and it was explaining why Tua is so good, and he throws off anticipation. I could not watch him play thinking about that this past week, and it's crazy. Like his rhythm is insane. I don't know if it's because of he knows his receivers, but if you look at the way he plays, like the rhythm that him and the receivers has is insane. Now, granted, first touchdown in the game this past Sunday for Miami, I don't even know if you would call it busted coverage, but there shouldn't be nobody next to Tyreek Hill when he catches the ball.
Well,
That's
I think I think they ran the zone. He settled into a spot, and then once he got the ball, it's just
it
like
was
who can
over
catch
with.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was over
so
with. But
and you can't
last
really
thing,
man up with him either.
facts.
So
Yep, and again without Waddle. But last thing I want to add, I really love how hard they come behind Tua. I felt like the Dolphins organization hasn't treated Tua fairly. I hope they give him a good contract. But at the same time, I think the players have his back. I mean, Tyreek Hill, somebody said he's great, but he said his quarterback is great. So I love to see that from a team perspective. But do you guys have anything to add to that? Okay, moving on. What do you guys see? Okay, yeah. So, who's at the top of the NFC East? Who's at the top of the NFC East? I want to take this away. I'm definitely a big Eagles fan. I'm a fan of the game too. I'm not one of those people who hate the Cowboys. Happy Trevon Diggs is injured. I'm not one of them stupid people. And I want to talk about that later. But to answer the question, I mean, of course, with the record, if we go by the standings, the Eagles are 3-0. They one game above the Commanders, who were surprisingly 2-1, and the Cowboys, who were surprisingly not 3-0. And then you got the Giants in there. I feel like the Giants were going to be better this year. But to answer the question, I mean, of course, it's out of the Cowboys and Eagles, and I got to give the edge to the Eagles, but because of the run game. It looks like the Cowboys can't stop the run game. I didn't realize last year that was their big problem, can't stop the run game. I mean, pass rush is crazy. One thing I want to discuss is Micah Parsons in a second. But I really don't like the way they're using him, and it might be some inflicted by his own doing, with him wanting to, be a pass rusher majority of the time, moving away from linebacker. But yeah, I definitely want to discuss that in a minute. But for me, it's the Eagles. What do you think, Jerry?
top team. I feel like it's still a little bit too early. I definitely think, like you said, it's out of the Cowboys and Eagles for sure. Commanders, I really haven't seen enough of them to say they can. I don't really think they can contend with either of the teams. Giants will play some gritty football. Daniel Jones will try his best, but I just feel like he don't have the weapons. Waller, I'm sorry, bro, but you just ain't it. I'm sorry. So I definitely think it's out of them, but I definitely think it's too soon to say. The Eagles definitely have struggled. Whether or not they're 3-0 or not, they definitely have struggled. The Cowboys have had one game where it's just like they're the Cowboys. See how they do. But I definitely think it's still too early, but definitely on the Eagles and the Cowboys for sure.
Based off record, I'd go with the Eagles, obviously. And then just as of right now, I think the Eagles is probably the safest pick. I will say Jalen Hurts has been like surprisingly poor. I
Mediocre.
think, yeah, very mediocre. I wouldn't even say
Yeah.
mediocre. I would say poor. He's had some bad games, like
Epics.
objectively speaking, bad games. Yeah, bad
Yeah.
interceptions.
Mhm.
Um, just I am curious because we see DeAndre Swift going for probably like almost 300 yards the last 2 games. I want to see the game that that doesn't happen or that the other team can hit right back.
Yep.
Because if the
Mhm.
other team can hit right back and Jalen Hurts has to be the one to make a play, has to win the game, it doesn't look like that's going to happen right now. I trust Dak more than, well, can I say that after that interception last
That's
game
what I'm
across the middle?
saying. Yeah.
But
In the red zone,
I
no
I
receivers
would
even close.
generally speaking, I would say I'd probably even trust Dak more still to win me the game.
I ain't mad at it.
In 2 minute drill. Uh, but yeah, I think right now, and also even with Trevon Diggs out, I think the Cowboys pass defense is performing better than the Eagles. I think they've got strong defenses on both sides, but better at certain things than others.
Mhm.
Um, all I know is I can't wait for them to match up.
Oh, for
Same.
sure. November 5th, baby.
Same. That's a holiday, baby. That's a
Yes,
holiday.
sir.
Not
That
even
is a
because
For
it's a
sure.
holiday.
holiday.
Hey, I ain't scheduling
Absolutely.
nothing. Don't ask me to do nothing. Don't call me. Don't text me. Do not disturb. Um, Now, one thing I want to add before we move on to this next topic, and I just want a quick little quick hit from you guys. Trevon Diggs' injury. Do you guys think that's huge? Now, granted, I want to add this to it. Apparently, their offensive line had a lot of injuries as well, but I just want to specifically speak on Diggs here. How big of an impact is him going down to the Cowboys?
I definitely think it changes up some of the way they can do some of their coverages because I feel like he's a shutdown corner, so I don't know about the other guy. I don't think he's that shutdown. Not as fast either. For sure, he's not as fast. Um, but I honestly don't think he's a piece. But to me, he wasn't the whole piece. He wasn't a huge piece of their defense. I just feel like he played coverage defense. But I mean, with that rush you're getting, I mean, as long as you can stay in the vicinity, it's going to be tough for anybody to really move the ball passing wise on you. So I feel like definitely feel like as far as like being a ball hawk, he was that guy. But I definitely feel like it's not a huge loss to them.
I agree. Well,
Yeah, I think their front seven is so good that it reminds me of when the Eagles won the Super Bowl last. Like they didn't have the best secondary in the world, um, but that pass rush was insane to the point where you can trust your front seven to put a lot of pressure on the opposing team, um, man up and just hustle.
I definitely agree. And to add to that, I would agree with you both. I think it's a big loss, but I think because the front seven is so good, it ain't big as it could be. Like this ain't a standard pass rushing team. Like this is probably the best pass rushing team in the league, and I would say, I mean, if a team tries to beat them passing the ball, it's just not gonna work. It's just not. I don't see any team beating the Cowboys by passing. Um, I just don't. Yeah, I feel like the only way you're gonna beat them is run on them. But okay, moving on to the next topic, which is also Cowboy related. Are the Cowboys in trouble? So I want to add a little context to this. I guess two things guess I want you to speak on. The Cowboys culture in general. So after the Cowboys won, Michael Parsons on his podcast, hey bro, you can come on our podcast too if you want to. But hey, on his podcast he said the Cowboys are Super
In the big
Bowl ready. Going to the big dance. And personally, I feel like that's a problem after 2 games. Like you just can't say that. I understand you saying it in the locker room, saying that to your teammates, but you can't say that to the public because you're gonna be used as a meme if y'all take a step back. And then for you to say that after game 2 and lose game 3 to the Cardinals, who I thought they were tanking, I still think they're tanking. Tanking
Hmm,
unless
exactly.
Caleb Williams said, "Hey, I don't want to go to the Cardinals." Um, But and the second thing is I want you guys to speak on is, do you guys think it was smart for Michael Parsons to move to full time edge rusher? I mean, he moves around the line, but he don't play linebacker anymore. So you guys think that that's smart of him? And Jared, I'll let you take it away first.
To answer your first question, no, they're not in trouble. I don't think they're in trouble at all. I definitely still think they're a high playoff team. The biggest threat to them is going to be, can they get past the 49ers, personally. Just the question. I mean, can they get past the 49ers? We ain't worried about the Eagles. But can they get past them is going to be the question. I don't think they're in trouble by no means. To answer your second question, um, I understand what Michael wants to do. He feels like he's the biggest threat on the line, especially as an edge rusher. I think he's going for MVP as well. As crazy as that is, being a defensive end. Um, but I think you have to be a guy. If you're that guy, you have to be able to be moved anywhere. If your team needs you to play a linebacker this week, play a linebacker this week. If your team needs you to be a DN this week, be a DN. If your team needs you to be a defensive tackle, be a defensive tackle. I mean, I just feel like you have to. If you're that guy, you have to do whatever the team asks for. Is going to give you the best chance of winning. And I feel like him on the pass rush against teams that are run heavy is not going to be as effective. When they're running up the gut, and there's nothing you can do when they get past you. So.
Agreed. Well,
I think it's a good move. I think he's put up two really good seasons thus far. Getting to the quarterback really well. He started this year off getting to the quarterback really well. Clearly, like Jaren said, if you're being mentioned in the MVP conversation as a defensive player, I mean, I don't remember the last time that happened. In a quarterback dominated league, clearly you're doing well. I think since he has the versatility to play anywhere, I think you can do a lot with that. We've seen that kind of stuff before. Kind of reminds me of like a better what's that linebacker from the Patriots, Hightower. Um, but he was primarily a middle linebacker, inside linebacker for the Patriots, but he could also pass rush really well. Just move around anywhere, and you can do a lot with that. Um, I think it was I think I saw a TikTok. Was he also doing like crossover moves, like Miles Garrett was? I think I saw something like that. I think
yeah,
Hmm.
anytime you got a defensive player who's allowed to do that, I mean, you got problems.
yeah,
Um, and also just like throwing this in, I didn't realize he ran a 4.3.
yeah. I didn't realize
Um,
Yeah.
that either. I heard that in the commentator. I'm
as
like, dang, really?
6'3", 250 at that size, at that position, running 4.3 is. I mean, you don't get to 4.3 speed often from there, but I mean that kind of explosiveness. I mean, you're gonna get to the quarterback a lot.
Thanks.
Hmm.
To add to that, I agree with what both of you guys said. But I do feel like the way the Cardinals beat them, they first of all they put them in a blender when they ran at him. They sending two guys at him, to block him, beating his body up. And I saw somebody say this morning. I can't remember who said it, but they were saying Michael Parsons slowed down towards last year because his body was getting beat up so much. Because these you getting hit when you try to pass rush, and I feel like, man, with him rushing the passer so much, that's true. Like his body gonna be hurting, and he might not feel it for the time being, but over time, like he gonna start slowing down. So I do think they need to kind to kind of, if you up by 20 points, ain't no reason for him to be rushing a passer. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think they got to be a little bit more smart of how they use him and when they use him to rush the passer. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you do in October. It matters what you're gonna do in February. And if he's not healthy in February, you're not gonna win a Super Bowl. You see what I'm saying? So, I definitely feel like they need to use him better. But so our next topic we want to discuss Jaren's fantasy heroes versus zeros. And this topic is where Jaren is going to give us some of his fantasy heroes and some of his fantasy zeros for this past week or this upcoming week. I can't remember.
Past week. This past week.
This
So
past week.
my heroes this week. My heroes, obviously, Devon Achan, 51.3 points to the PPR league. Crazy, in that league that I have in one of my leagues, he wasn't even picked up. I mean, no one saw 50 points of him coming out. I have Raheem Mostert, and he had a great game as well. He's another one of my heroes, 45.2 points to the PPR league. Keenan Allen, which I feel like Keenan Allen and Mike Evans are having great seasons this year, and I definitely feel like it's because they both have been looking for that next contract, that next money. 45.46 points from him. Devontae Adams, his biggest game of the year, one of the best games I've seen him play all year, catching the ball. I mean, he's getting the ball thrown to him as the number one receiver for that team. And, when you giving a guy like the ball, they're going to put up points. So 42.2 from him. Adam Thielen. Now, Adam Thielen is also one of my sleeper picks. I feel like that he's going to be the number one target for that team. I feel like he still can get open. I feel like he still has great hands. 31.5. I definitely feel like, if you're looking for somebody to be a consistent receiver, I feel like he's going to be one of those guys. Now, zeros. Sadly, Justin Fields. Justin Fields, I just don't feel like he's going to be a great player this year. I feel like, he's busted every game he's played this year so far. I just feel like, that line, that team, what they got going on, I just feel like this is going to be a bad year for them. Alan Lazard. Alan Lazard is getting the targets, not getting the points you would think he should be putting up. He's busted every game so far this year. I definitely don't think he's worth a fantasy pick. And my last person, Joshua Kelly. Joshua Kelly put up great numbers week one, which is when a lot of people picked him up. The last couple weeks, he has been bad, even though he's getting the carries with Eckler being out. Eckler is possible to return this week or next week, but even if he doesn't return this week, I definitely don't think Joshua Kelly is worth the start. Those are my heroes and zeros.
I love it. I want to add one hero and one zero to that list. Dang, I can't remember my hero. But my zero I want to add is any Kansas City receiver. I feel like what's his name, Scott Moore and Kadarius Toney are just it's just not it. Of course, if you have Travis Kelsey, that's great. But yeah, I just feel like the Chiefs receivers are not doing well, and I'm not sure if they booming or busting, but I expected at least Sky Moore to do more in fantasy. And my hero, I want to add Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper has been very solid. He had a good game this past week. He should have had more points. They snaked him out of a touchdown when they said he was out of bounds, but his foot didn't touch out of bounds, and he ended up scoring, but they took it back. So yeah, I just want to add them. While you got any heroes and zeros you want to add?
I would say a hero for me was Debo with Ayuk out. He put up a huge game catching the ball as well as running the ball. It's interesting seeing how they use him and Christian McCaffrey. Like more often than not, their natural positions are Debo's receiver and McCaffrey's running back, respectively. But you saw a lot last game where they switched, and McCaffrey would line up, split out wide, get the ball. Debo would be in the backfield, get the ball. So it's just crazy the way that you can rack up points in that San Francisco offense.
I definitely agree. Okay, so moving on to our next topic, which is also fantasy related. Wall starts versus sits. In this topic, I mean, as you can kind of he's trying to give you some help with your fantasy lineups, who you should start this week or this upcoming week, and who you should sit this upcoming week. So take it away, Wall.
Yeah, I'll start with the receiver. I mean, these two might be obvious. First one is Devontae Adams against the Chargers. The Chargers are right now giving up the most points to quarterback and receiver, both positions actually. We just saw Devontae Adams with a big week. And actually, not sure if you guys knew, but a lot of people were low on Devontae Adams this year because he's at that age where receivers typically fall off in terms of fantasy production. I think this is
Okay.
the same age where you saw Julio start to decline. Basically, all the big receivers you can think of started to decline at this age. So, in a lot of ways, I think in the fantasy community, we weren't expecting these kind of numbers, especially behind with Garoppolo at quarterback. Um, but yeah, more insight on the Chargers. They played against the Vikings, the Dolphins, and then the Titans. The Titans are the only game where they didn't give up 100 yards receiving to the number one. Cheetah got 200 on them, I think, in week one, and Justin Jefferson had a big game as well. So I think we can expect to see something similar in terms of fantasy production this weekend. Jamar Chase versus Tennessee. Tennessee is giving up the fourth most points to wide receiver. We saw Amari Cooper put up a big game and should have had a bigger game. Jamar Chase has had 9, 8, and then 15 targets in each game, respectively. It looks like they're starting to ramp up. Maybe not ramp up as a team, but the connection between him and Burrow looks like they're starting to ramp up, and I think he'll score his first touchdown this week.
To add to that, to
Hope
Jamar
so.
Chase, I definitely agree with the ramp up. Because if you look how they used him this game, they kept him in the slot, and they wanted him to be as close to Joe Burrow as they could, so they could get him out, get him with quick routes. He had a lot of very quick, you know, turn around, throw, type plays. Against the Rams. So I definitely think the ramp up is there, and I definitely think they're actively trying to get the ball in his hands. Now, is it because of the past two games and we're just gonna see average going forward, or is it because they know to win football games they're gonna have to give him the ball? I can't say, but I'm big on Jamar Chase this week.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on to running back, Najee Harris against Houston. Houston's currently giving up the fifth most points to running back. He hasn't been great this year, but the Steelers' offense as a whole hasn't been that great. Although he did have 19 carries last game. He didn't get much off of it. I think he had like 60 something yards. But this is a really strong defense from the Steelers. They lead the league in sacks right now at 13. I don't think CJ Stroud has really been tested, and I think um, his streak of not turning the ball over thus far in the NFL will probably come to an end this week. And I think they'll get a lot of short field opportunities and go to relying on a stud in Harris versus trusting Pickett to throw the ball. I think Alex Madison against Carolina will be a good game. They're currently giving up the third most points to running backs right now. They've allowed 2 rushing touchdowns every single game and well over 100 yards, 100 rushing yards total. The only running back that didn't perform was Tony Jones Jr. from the Saints, I think. But Taysom Hill still went off. So I think I think the yards are there. I think the touchdowns are there. Opportunities are there. Especially considering that quarterbacks and receivers haven't played too great against Carolina. They've got a pretty good secondary. So I think they'll lean on Madison, maybe Akers to come in and make plays, but the opportunities will be there for sure. For quarterback, I would say Brock Purdy is a good start. They're going against the eighth worst pass defense, and with Brandon Ayuk likely coming back, I mean he had a really good game to start off the season. I think we can expect that same level of performance from him getting back into this. Of course, McCaffrey and Debo are always threats.
Agree.
Going on to my sits for the week, I actually don't think Jalen Waddle is a really great start this week, or he's risky. They're going against the third toughest defense in terms of giving up points to wide receivers. He's also coming back from that injury. Yes, the concussion's probably not going to affect you that much, but I think also seeing the run game from Miami opening up and really being a factor. I think we're going to see that utilized a lot, as well as Tyreek Hill taking away most receptions. I think Garrett Wilson is someone who you probably won't start that much anymore this season, regularly at least, especially this week, considering Kansas City is the fourth toughest wide receiver defense. Um, Typically that wouldn't be a problem, but with quarterback being question mark for this team, it just I don't really see how you can start any Jets offensive player right now.
Definitely agree.
Agree. Yeah.
Moving on to the running backs, I would say the Ravens backfield as a whole. We've just seen a lot of injuries coming from there. Inconsistency in general. We saw Melvin Gordon come in. I think he got like 10 or 11 carries and had 30 yards off of it. I mean, the fact that he was on their practice squad doesn't have a lot of first team reps. On top of the fact that Lamar Jackson is your quarterback, I expect to see him carrying a lot of the rushing production. Um, but yeah, uh, the next running back, Ramondre Stevenson. The Cowboys have the third toughest defense in terms of giving up points to running backs. I expect the Cowboys to lock in after that tough loss to the Cardinals. I can't imagine them letting Ramondre pop off, especially considering his slow start to the season as well.
Definitely agree.
I ain't gonna lie.
My
This is one I'm gonna have to. I might have to go against you on Ramondre, just cause I don't know, man. Them hoes was big as hell for the Cardinals. I don't know. I just feel like Ramondre is to me is a better back than Connor. But at the same time too, I don't know the offensive lines either. If
right.
the Patriots offensive line is good or better, I don't know. I feel like it's hard to patch up a broken run defense in 1 week, especially when not adding
Yeah.
any additional players.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I just don't trust the 2 yards a carry average from Ramondre.
Facts,
But
facts.
yeah, especially a team that's motivated as well in the Cowboys.
And they got Zeke,
Move.
so this might be a revenge game for
Yeah,
him.
that's true. That's a good point. That's a good point. My last sit for the week is actually Lamar Jackson. The Browns actually have the toughest QB defense in terms of fantasy points allowed. Um, I think we've seen the Ravens struggle to find any sort of consistency on offense. Zay Flowers looks like a bright spot, but I don't really expect good passing numbers from this team as a whole. And I think running the ball will be tough. I think Lamar will get the most opportunities, and yes, he's going to make some big runs, but against a team like the Browns um who have proven in 3 games thus far that they're not going to give up many points to quarterbacks. I think he'll find it tough finding space out there.
Mm-hmm.
I
Definitely
agree.
agree.
Jerry, did you want to add anything to that?
No, but I'm definitely going to do my sleeper picks. My sleeper picks of the week, fantasy wise. Adam Thielen. I feel like like I say, he's going to be Bryce Young's go-to guy this week. I feel like he's going to be his go-to guy for the remainder of the season. I feel like he's been very consistent so far. And I definitely think once they build up a connection, he's going to get even more production. So I definitely feel like he's a great player to start this week. Tank Dell. Tank Dell. Has been one of my sleeper picks since the very first week. Even though he hasn't performed great other than last week. Well, I won't say great, but he hasn't performed like had a 30-point night other than last week. But I feel like he's going to get the share of the targets. I feel like CJ Stroud trusts him, and he's a deep ball guy. So I definitely feel like there's always a chance for a touchdown. So he's definitely a good flex option for me this week. And Swift. I understand that the Eagles might be running back by committee, but I definitely feel like Swift is that guy. I feel like when the going gets tough and they need somebody who's going to run the ball, is going to be able to put up yards and points. Swift is going to be your guy for the Eagles this year. Those are
And,
my
and,
super picks.
I want to add to that the running game for the Eagles looks absolutely amazing right now, and it's like Swift not even being touched until he built up a head of steam, which is amazing. So I definitely agree. I feel like he's definitely a good at least running back too. Behind that Eagles offensive line, if he get at least 10 carries, I feel like at least 10 carries might be a 1 tutty, 70 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Moving over to our last topic of the day, pick 'em. So again, I just want to add, we might try to do this on Mondays before the first Monday night NFL game, which is the plan. So that those pick 'em games will be the Monday night games. But since we're doing it on a Tuesday today, we want to do the Thursday night game, which is Lions versus Packers, and then we're gonna do Sunday night game, which is the Jets versus Chiefs. So to start us off, Jerome, Lions, Packers, spread -0.5 in the Lions way. Who you got?
I got the Packers. I definitely feel like at home, with that crowd is gonna make a difference. I definitely feel like the Packers. I feel like Jordan Love has been great this year so far. I definitely feel like they're gonna move the ball, running back wise as well, and I definitely feel like they'll be able to get the win with their defense. I feel like they might hold the Lions to one TD this week.
Okay, Wall.
I got the Lions. Aaron Jones, I think, is expected to be back this week, but I think his hamstring was hurt. So any injury like that, I'm kind of iffy on in terms of like how much he can rely on the guy to be there.
Mhm.
To be honest, I'm not that impressed with Jordan Love's performance this year. I think he scored a lot of touchdowns, but passing efficiency, I don't think has been quite there. Um, I don't think the Lions are great offensively or defensively rather. But I think on offense they get their playmakers the ball. And I think Jared Goff is just a lot more reliable in terms of who am I going to trust to win the game and not lose the game. More important.
That makes sense. And I'm going to go with the Lions as well. I feel like the Lions offense is very nice, and the Packers hasn't shown me enough on defense for me to believe that they can stop the Lions. I mean, the Lions have a lot of nice pieces on the offensive side. Jared Goff is looking pretty good. Um, and I agree. I'm not really bought in or sold on the Jordan Love train just yet. Yeah, he got to show me a little bit more before I just start believing. Because I definitely still think that that team is run first if Aaron Jones is healthy. So yeah, I'm definitely want to go with the Lions. Okay, so moving on to our next game. We have the Jets, and I need to add that. We have the Jets at the Chiefs, which is a what you say the spread was? Negative 9.5?
Yeah.
Negative 9.5. So well, I'll let you take it away. Who you got?
I think the Chiefs will cover. Um, I think it's interesting seeing the Chiefs this year. They seem a lot more balanced with Pacheco at running back, and obviously the lack of performance from the Chiefs in terms of wide receiver. So it seems like the offense is more balanced. I think you can always rely on Mahomes to put up points. Like I don't think that'll ever really be a big issue in the long term. I think more importantly, the pass defense against this Jets team with, like I said before, question marks at quarterback. Um, I think you can expect Zach Wilson to mess up, and they just don't seem like they're committed to the run game, despite having what I think we would call two solid running backs, especially with Zach Wilson back there. Like you would think you'd want to maybe lean a little bit more on that, um, but it seems like they are giving Zach Wilson more opportunities. So I think we'll see a big turnover game for the Chiefs, and then them putting up numbers.
I definitely agree, Jaron.
I think this is, going to be a slaughter. I feel like the Chiefs are going to go well over the spread. I definitely feel like it's going to be a 20 point game. And I just feel like the Jets don't have it. Zach Wilson just isn't that guy. I feel like. I mean, I just feel like he just isn't a great quarterback. I feel like they don't really scheme well for the run game. I feel like they're trying to get the ball in his hands, at Wilson's hands, for whatever reason. I think they plan for A-Rod to be that guy this year. They of course he could sling the rock, but I just don't feel like Zach Wilson's going to be that guy for the team. And I definitely feel like Brees Hall, even though he feels like he should get more carries, um, I feel like he should be lucky some of these games that they're putting the ball in Zach Wilson's hands because he might get exposed himself. So that's the way I look
Really,
at it.
really. That's interesting. I just want to
At
add
least,
that
at least against the Cowboys, they didn't got 4 carries, but he talking about he should have got more. But
yeah. I just want to add that
mm-hmm.
Chief is in favor of the Chiefs, and which is funny, and he was in favor for the Lions. But I'm not gonna be edgy here. I'm gonna go with the Chiefs as well. Um, I just don't. I don't see the offensive production from the Jets here. Zach Wilson just not it. I mean, he does look better than last year. I give him that, but that's not saying much. It's really not saying much. And to me, the Chiefs defense is not bad. Like that.
Yeah.
I think his name is Bolden or Bolt. He's a linebacker, bro. That
Oh,
dude is a
Nick Bolton.
monster,
Yeah.
bro. And then they got old boy back, Chris Jones. Oh yeah, yeah. I think that's a nice little tandem. And I like their team as a whole. Like they fly to the ball. Like it's actually crazy how good the Chiefs are defensively and have been really for the past few years without many big names other than Chris Jones. They had the Honey Badger, which I feel like they should have never let go, but he balling out for the Saints. Um, so to close us out, the last thing I want to say is fuck with my boy, or sorry, mess with my boy, Country Vibes. It might be backwards. Hit him up with some merch, my boy Kirk Harris. And also slide in his DMs and tell him to sponsor our podcast. Let him know we need some hats and everything like that for the pod. But yeah, I just want to give my boy a shout out, Country Vibes, Kirk Harris. Hit him up on Instagram. You want to go fishing? You want to catch some monsters? We talking about 8 footers, 7 footers. We talking about 30, 40 pound fish, catfish, gars, whatever you want. Hit my boy up. He can take you for a good time. He can take you on the boat. He can be on the land with it, whatever you want to do. So yeah, shout out to Country Vibes. Also shout out to NG. Shout out to Naked Gang, which is best. Um, but before I close, you guys have anything?
I just want to say shout out to all the people who actually commented and watched. Ain't Thelma, Chief, Case, Christian. I appreciate y'all watching. And tune in next week. We'll probably be back either Monday or Tuesday for another sports show.
Well,
Thank you.
and this has been the pregame recap. Thank y'all for watching.